Hello， 大家好，又係我 Elsa， 揸機嗰位係 Vincent。咁咧就上個禮拜咧就同大家講咗我哋太陽能板嗰間公司執咗笠啦，咁都好多謝大家嘅留言，大家都好關心我哋。咁就有少少 update， 而家咧就係破產管理人公司接咗手噶啦，咁佢就係話如果佢賣晒啲資產啊，賣咗層樓，咁有剩嗰啲咧就分翻俾我哋啦，咁樣係咯。不過嗰間嘢都踢一踢先喐一喐㗎，我之前 send 咗個 email 俾佢咧，冇人睬我，咁跟住我要再 send，咁樣先有人覆我。係啦，亦都有好多網友咧留言就係問，即係關於 D7 簽證嗰啲嘢。咁其實咧，我同 Vincent 咧而家嚟到呢度，我哋都有諗過咧，因為我哋係 golden visa 過嚟㗎嘛。咁過到嚟之後咧，就咁我哋已經決定喺度長住，咁即係話咧，本身 golden visa 嗰個 requirement 咧，其實就係話我哋投資，但係唔需要個人喺度住，咁佢都5年之後都可以俾到個即係永居我哋嘅。咁但係我哋而家就變咗係我哋提前嚟到，我哋真係要住喺度噶咯喎。咁而家 Vincent 又 quit 咗份工，咁所以其實變咗，其實我哋係唔需要透過 golden visa 嗰條路。我哋就問律師 explore 啊，係嘛？有冇其他平啲嘅方法咧？既然即係我個人又住咗喺度，而我哋嘅條件又可能係符合到其他方法移民過嚟嘅，即係繼續續我哋嘅證嘅咁樣。咁上次嗰位 Natasha 律師咧，咁都俾咗啲建議我哋嘅，咁我都即係啦，喺呢度同大家分享下啦。Me
and my husband, we came here through the golden visa program. Because at that time my husband is still working in Hong Kong, so we couldn't really stay in Portugal. So we could afford to come here 7 days per year. So we think at that time we thought golden visa is the best program for us to get another passport. But since Hong Kong has a crisis on the 2019, and we decided to quit our job, came to Portugal and live. So are we eligible to apply, let's say, D7?
Okay, so you can change the residence permits. The only thing that you need to make sure is that you comply with the minimum requirements. So, for example, if you want to change from golden visa to D7, you must go back to the country of origin and get the residency visa. So the procedure would start again, given that you had the first card for GV purposes, and this new will be with a different procedure, and also it's a card related to the D7 and no longer to the GV. So the years will not count from the beginning, so your legal residence in Portugal will remain the same. But for example, this will be starting from the beginning, this procedure, okay, to get the residence permit that is related to now this new type of permit that you will have. For example, your first card was issued when?
2019.
Okay, so you have until 2024 to have the 5 years to apply for the permanent or the citizenship.
Yes.
Imagine that this year in 2021 you would apply for the D7. You still have the possibility to request the permanent or the passport in 2024.
So what other options do we have?
Okay, so there are also other types of residence permit related, for example, with an employment or self-employment situation, students or volunteer. But of course, for example, the D2 can also be an option. I can make a fast brief between the D7 and the D2 that we are discussing if you want.
Okay, yes, please.
So yeah, in terms of mobility, the applicant and the family members will have access to the same thing. So the possibility to travel within the Schengen area without the visas and to study or to work here. Also, regarding the stay, these rules are more restricted given that the applicant needs to stay here at least 6 months. So which will imply, of course, the tax resident status, as they will be here for more than 183 days. So they will be considered tax residents. But the residence permit, the first one is valid for 2 years and the second one is valid for 3 years. So only one renewal is applied to these residence permits. And after the 5 years, there is also a possibility of obtaining the permanent or the citizenship. So let's say that the main differences between these two is that the D7 visa is a possibility for citizens who earn enough and regular and reliable income, such as rentals, pensions, financial instruments. So the proof of this income is the main element. And the D2 is applicable for citizens that are immigrants, entrepreneur, or self-employed workers, therefore applicable to those who have an investment business operation in Portugal or that intend to have one. So the main differences between these two would be that for the D7, it is required that the applicant requests first a visa at country of origin, so submitting all the necessary documents. And after this visa is issued, the appointment for the residence permit will be scheduled for the 4 months after. With the D2, there is a possibility of waiving the residence visa, provided that the applicant can prove that entered in Portugal legally. So the application for the residence permit can be done through a mechanism that is called the expression of interest, by submitting an application online first and then requesting an appointment before the immigration authorities. This expression of interest can take up to 12 months. So of course that the process with the residence visa is faster, but if you are already in Portugal, this can also be an option.
I see.
So this slide is also very important because most of the applicants will probably decide to follow any Portuguese program because they are thinking about the family members. So this is another point which makes Portugal different from other European countries, because it has a broad definition of family. So our residence permits allows that one single application, and not only with one single application, not only the main applicant can get the residence card, but also almost everyone in the family. So that it's a 3-generation family reunification sometimes.
Could you tell me briefly how to apply this D2?
Yes, so without the need of the visa, you just can work as a self-employee or incorporate a company here.
So I have to create a company?
Or work as a self-employee in Portugal.
Oh, so it's like because I have an Airbnb here and I already applied this Airbnb license, that means I am already worked as a self-employed.
Yes, it can be considered. It can be considered. So we would have to check everything carefully because there are other requirements. For example, having the means of subsistence to stay in Portugal, have a long-term accommodation. But yes, probably this can work.
Let's say I have the long-term accommodations. And what do you mean by means of subsistence? Is it something like my saving?
Yeah, it's that you have enough income to support your life here in Portugal. So it's related to the minimum salary in Portugal. And for you would need to prove that, for example, you have 7,620 euros to be exact. So it's more or less 8,000 euros per year to support your life in Portugal.
So you mean if I have 8,000 saving in my bank, does it count? Yes,
it would count.
Because even though I have a business of Airbnb, but this pandemic, I'm not earning money from my business. So if I could prove that I have enough saving in my bank account, that also counts.
Yes, that could also count as a means of subsistence. Yes,
I see. So that's it. And then it takes about up to 12 months for them to grant me the visa.
Yes, it can. Of course, that it can be less time, but normally these applications, because you have a lot of people that entered legally in Portugal, that's the first step, that applied online. So there's a lot of applicants, and that delays the applications. So of course it can be less, like 7 or 8 months, but normally from our experience, this
12 months.
It's that.
I'm as a dependent to come here with my husband, and he is the main applicant for the golden visa. And now I am the one who has the Airbnb self-employed license. So if I applied for this D2, does my husband, can my husband also apply? Because he doesn't have a...
Through the family reunification, yes, it will be possible.
Oh, through the family reunification, and that will be possible. So just he doesn't have to open another company. Just me and nothing.
Yes, because the
and then our visa could could count from the beginning, like from the 2019. Since I
it will. You just have to make sure that through all this time until the 5 years, you hold all the time a residence permit. Because if not, they can count, for example, you had one valid from 2019 until 2020. And then imagine that from 2020 until this year, you didn't have any. They can just exclude this year. So you only have one, and then you will have another in 2022. But normally they count from the first date of the first cards. The first card is issued, when the first card is issued.
係啦，咁就希望頭先嘅 information 對大家都有幫助啦。咁如果大家中意我哋段片嘅，就俾個 like 同埋 share 俾人啦。咁記住 subscribe 咯喎，好啦，下次見，拜拜。